Peace to all the saints worldwide. You dig? Your boys over here in Brazil enjoying life. What we're going to do today is we're going to analyze a clip from the Dead Ass podcast wherein a gentleman and his wife are talking about marriage, monogamy. And it's quite an interesting conversation because we can learn from a couple positions. One, we can observe the way they interact with one another. Two, we can study their relationship history and see if he's been making the wrong kinds of compromises, allowing her to lead, which will lead you to destruction. And we can also think about the whole concept of monogamy and polygyny, especially, the reality versus the expectation, as they've said in the title of their video. So I'm going to go ahead and get to it. I'm going to share their video. So it looks like we're all set up right now. I'm going to maximize it, put that volume on, and then we're going to get down to business. You dig? So maximize this for you, gentlemen and ladies.
I'm still in lust.
He never left
I
that
think
shit.
I've been in lust since I was 18.
I love it. And you know what's amazing about men in general, well, you particularly, because I can't speak for every man. However, you've been in lust through every phase of everything. So when I felt my worst, when I was 9 months pregnant, when I was in the 4th trimester with like a swollen vagina and like leaky boobs and shit, you thought that shit was sexy. And to me, there was...
So I'm critiquing everything, and it's not for the purpose of being critical. It's to give some meaningful advice to people who want to better their lives. Number one, shout out to the ladies. Being vulgar is not attractive. Even if your man is vulgar and he's cursing and using foul language and referring to unclean concepts, that doesn't mean you should do it. We're in an era where females, especially if they were not raised with the father, they tend to emulate the behaviors of males. And these behaviors don't look good on you, sis. So the vulgarity is very unattractive. Just because a man is vulgar doesn't mean he thinks it's a good idea, and surely doesn't mean he wants to hear you being vulgar. So I just want to shout that out right now. Her referring to her swollen vagina and leaky breasts, I find it disgusting personally. Carrying on.
Absolutely nothing sexy about that. Like, I was like, yo, I had a baby in me. I got a baby on me. Like, somebody's always touching me. So I had my phases where it was very different.
This is down the back. Leaky boobs, I didn't think it was sexy. Swollen vagina now. All right. For obvious reasons, you guys know why I would think that's sexy. It's very lubricated down there. Okay. In any event, I am not allowed, based on our marriage laws and the contract we signed with each other,
right,
to have sex with anybody else.
Right.
So these urges that come, I have to share them with the one person I decide to spend the rest of my life with.
So firstly, let's analyze his language. I'm very big on words because words have meaning. Firstly, he states, "I am not allowed," end quote. Such a statement indicates that there's an authority above you. In this case, he's perhaps referring to the government or perhaps to his wife. I don't know, but what I can assure you is that as a man, there should be no authority above you that you have not consented to, which is to say that any law he's abiding by, he has consented to abide by. All individuals are born free. You choose to succumb to some greater force. And in his case, he's saying, I'm not allowed to sleep with anybody else. Well, actually, you are. You've chosen not to sleep with anybody else. That's on you, bruh. That's on you. Carrying on.
Right. So that brings me back to my soundbite.
Okay.
Right. I don't understand, and this is what we can discuss. As a woman, because I don't want to say it's a man versus woman thing, but a lot of women do complain, oh, my husband's always on me. Why is he always on me? If sex is going to be a chore for you that you don't really want to do, why do women constantly push monogamy on men?
Let me break this apart because there's two pieces to this. You dig? And if you could stop rocking my bed, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now, so back to you guys. So number one, he says that Why is it that women are pushing monogamy if they are not willing to provide the vagina on a regular basis at the man's request? So he's clearly indicating that in his personal experience, he's had women who don't want to serve up that vagina hot and ready. And clearly that in his current situation, his wife is putting the vagina in jail and he is pursuing it like a thirsty, crazed maniac. Now, what I will advise you is that this is not everyone's experience. He is clearly choosing a type of female, and he is clearly a certain type of male, because in my personal experience, I cannot remember one single situation wherein I requested some vagina and was denied. Never happened once in my whole life with any female I've ever been involved with. And that's a testament to those women, because there are women who believe it is their duty and requirement to serve it up and give you as much as you can take. It's a vagina buffet. You heard me? There are many women out there like that, and that comes from their values. That comes from them being a woman of duty and responsibility. They're doing their part. But he does not end up with a woman like that because, as you might observe, my guy a little bit soft and feminine. You heard me? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's who you are. But don't complain because you're in a feminine position, which means the submissive position, which means not leadership position, not the position that's dominating and making the rules and laying the way. See, he's in the weaker position, and that's why he's not getting what he wants, what he requires. And so right now he's doing what a lot of these MGTOW guys are doing. They're blaming the female, when in reality, if you're the male and you're supposed to be in the leadership position, you can't blame the female for where you end up if you've been following her lead. And so right now he's basically saying, well, why y'all want to talk about monogamy when y'all want to give up that coochie? Well, that's your experience, sucker, because I've never been with a female in a relationship and she didn't want to give up the box. You heard me? She want me to play with the box like it's PlayStation. You dig? In fact, I could even tell you of stories where chicks were trying to give me brain. And I was like, girl, hold on. Let a brother wake up. Hold on, chill out. So this is a unique situation that he has that a lot of other feminine males have. So he's basically blaming his own errors on the female. You can't live like that.
You know that you don't want to have to deal with him all the time just wanting you. Mm-hmm. Why do you push monogamy on that?
Well, who's to say I pushed anything on anybody? Like,
well, we know that you pushed monogamy on me.
I pushed monogamy. I forced you to get married to me?
Time out.
Yeah, that is a good time for a timeout. Now check this out. Here's what should bother you. And saints, whether I'm talking to the lady saints or the men, always go for what you want in life. Do not settle for anything less. He is clearly in a situation wherein he has voluntarily gone into a dynamic that does not suit his nature. He just stated that she forced him into a monogamous situation. Now, mind you, consider the definition of the word force. In its simplest meaning, when we think of force, we think of pressure, we think of the other party exerting strength or power. Now, how is it the female that's supposed to be the weaker party in the relationship, how is she forcing you to do anything? If you're the leader, how is she forcing you to go down a certain road? If you're born bigger and stronger, how are you being forced? Nah, bruh. You gave up. You were worn down. You were weak. That's your fault. Now, mind you, here's the worst thing. You're never going to be happy as a male or female if you're not living your true life, meaning being who you really are. And he is literally stating to this female that you forced monogamy on me. I didn't want it. And then here's the funny thing. It's unlikely that most females are going to take responsibility. Most people, but definitely females, are not likely to say, hey, yeah, I did that. They're not supposed to. That's not their makeup. That's why they're not the leader. The leader's out in front. You have to take all of the responsibility, all of the, the ill for the decisions you make and all of the fruit for the decisions you make. That's what happens when you're out front being the leader. They're not designed by nature to be out front as the leader, which is why they're not inclined to take responsibility. And she's basically saying, nah, bro, I didn't force you into monogamy. You's a goddamn lie. When in reality, we all know, don't most women try to force men into monogamy? Absolutely, because it's in their individual interest. It's not in the man's interest, and it's not in the interest of the whole relationship, because if one party has to fake who they are, things will eventually deride, or that one party will have to go underground and engage in behaviors in the dark that may at some point come to light. And I bet my bottom dollar that this guy is engaging in a little bit of extracurricular. You dig?
I didn't say you forced me to get married, but did you not say to me that you wanted to be engaged and you wanted to be married before you lived with me? You didn't say that?
I want $1 billion. That don't mean I'm going to get it. I can want something, asking, but not.
You right now. You're dodging the question.
Nobody pressed you to do it. Yes, is that something I wanted? Yes, it was. But
you didn't press me. Are you gonna lie now to the people because we talking about sex? You're gonna lie now to the people?
DeVal. Knowing
you didn't want monogamy?
Of course I did.
So then why are you avoiding the question?
That's not avoiding the question. I'm saying, does that mean because I want it and I requested that you were going to deliver it? Like, nobody pressed you for that.
Talking about, you just said you wanted it and requested it. Do you not hear yourself?
I can make a request. Is the request going to be granted?
Hey, how about this? I agree with this female right here. She said, hey, bruh, all I did was let you know what I wanted. All I did was pursue my own goals. If you fold it up like a lawn chair, that's on you, bruh. All I did was go for the gold. If you fell down and let me get what I want and couldn't play defense, that's your fault. That's what she's telling him. If you're a weak man and you get run over by a woman, that's your fault. That's what she's explaining to you. I hope you're understanding that. And what he's doing right now is complaining. You didn't say, you didn't say. Yeah, well, hey, buddy, guess what? It's too late. Now you're 10 years in the marriage. You got 2 kids. You're in a monogamous situation, and let you mess around and get caught, quote unquote, cheating. She's going to take half your shit and hide your kids from you, buddy. And you signed up for that. That's the funny thing. You signed up for that bad deal, sucker.
Am I not granting you monogamy?
You are granting it to me.
So this is my question.
Look at your boy. Look at your boy.
This is my question. If you wanted monogamy,
okay,
why would you want monogamy if sex is a chore for you? That's the question. You're avoiding the question.
I'm not avoiding the question, but at first you said women or in general me specifically are pushing monogamy on somebody. Okay, yes, that's something that I wanted, but I didn't press you for it and be like, DeVal, a whole gun to your head to propose to me. Also, let me finish. Also,
again, let me shout out sis right here, and you rarely hear me say shorty's right. But there's a couple things I have to acknowledge. One, she's relatively common explaining position, which I respect. And then number 2, the gentleman started interrupting her while she's speaking. And let me advise you, in life in general, saints, do not interrupt people when they speak. Be a true hearer of the words. Great strategy. I always tap my foot 5 times when I think someone has finished speaking, especially if it's a female, because guess what? By the time you finish tapping your foot 5 times, they start talking again, especially if they're a little bit slow in the brain. They need a little bit of think time, and you have to provide that so that you can truly understand. Because when you are a great listener, you will have understanding. When you are a great listener, you will be a great speaker, because you will speak the words that are in tune with what that person is expressing to you. So they'll be more inclined to listen to you. So right now he's interrupting, which shows that his emotions are bubbling up, which shows a level of lack of leadership, because if anybody gets out of control, it would probably be the female first. But we're seeing the masculine feminine dynamic is perverted because he is not really that masculine. No disrespect to the fella. But often we want the external appearance of masculinity, the muscles, the tattoos, but we really ain't that. You dig? We want to look it, but we don't want to live it. Yeah. One of the saints DM that to me, so we can just add that to the Marquettism. We want to look it, but we don't want to live it. back to this footage.
I don't feel like I was adequately prepared for marriage. And I've said that before, because if I knew that marriage and monogamy was going to involve me trying to meet you where you were at sexually for years to come, then I probably would have reevaluated it if I wanted to be monogamous anyway.
So that's...
Wow. Let's use our brains here. This is weird. Number one, you're pushing monogamy, but you don't know what it consists of. That's silly. And this is exactly why they should not be in the leadership position. She just admitted to leading him somewhere, but she didn't know where she was leading him to. The misguided will misguide you. The blind cannot lead you. How can someone who is not themselves guided guide you? This is what we're seeing happen in their situation. Further, here's a funny thing. She said that I wanted to get married, even though I didn't really know what monogamy consisted of. I pursued monogamy. And then she says something which is even more damning, which is the idea that if I knew I had to satisfy you sexually, you meaning my husband, I wouldn't have signed up for it. What the fuck? Now consider this. If your female finds it to be a chore or a burden to satisfy you physically, there's a lack of love there. There's an absence of true and pure affection. I'm not saying that she's going to be unfaithful. What I am saying is that you're not going to get the high quality Rolls-Royce level relationship that you should be pursuing as a man. You're not going to get the service from your woman that you deserve as the king of your household. If your woman doesn't even feel like it's her responsibility and honor to please you, that says a lot about her, but it also says a lot about him, that he never viewed himself as worthy enough, because you must always set a standard in all things and say nothing less will do. I will only accept this level of behavior. And when you do that from the beginning, that's how things will track through the lifetime of your relationship. That's why the pimping will let you know the way you start with a hoe, that's the way you end with a hoe.
That's fair, but we're not even talking about marriage. Let's even talk about dating, right?
Okay.
Two people are dating. Typically in society, who asks for exclusivity first, a woman or a man?
I would say a woman.
Thank you. That was my whole point. See, you were going all over the place. If women typically ask for exclusivity first, then when they get exclusivity, say, he always on me, he always want to have sex. Why are we asking men for exclusivity if we do not want to participate in sex at the same level as men?
Number one, people can ask for all kinds of things. Doesn't mean they're going to get it. You know, I might walk down the street and a homeless guy say, hey, can I have $100? It doesn't mean I'm about to pull a greenback out of my wallet and give him $100. You know, you can ask for all kinds of things in life. So what he's basically saying is that men have come to such a weak level, some men, that whenever the woman asks of them, they give it. Well, that's desperation. Don't ever get to that level. You can never negotiate from a position of desperation. That's number one. Number two, he is not acknowledging the reality that women don't know what they want. Generally speaking, women do not know what they want. If you were to ask a woman what pleases you, what pleases her today might not be what pleases her tomorrow. Women are ever-changing creatures. Even the biology changes over the years in a very radical way. Sometimes you call it menopause. Sometimes you call it PMS. But they're in flux constantly. The male is fairly consistent. So to think that a woman, A, knows what she wants, and B, can communicate that clearly to you, and C, will want the same thing later on, that is foolishness. That is not wisdom. And that is why it's important to come and get knowledge from men who know and who have got knowledge from other men of age. Because what he's speaking from right now is inexperience, and his inexperience put him into basically a protracted war where he is going to be with one woman for the rest of his life, serving out the term of a contract and relationship that is disadvantageous. Sad.
We have to think about what that does to a man, and I don't think that that conversation is being had.
Okay, I agree, and that part I agree with. Yes, that women are typically the ones that will ask for the exclusivity. I get that, yes, but what I'm saying is, me as a woman, I don't think that I was necessarily.
Can I just real quick say what are the men asking for? It seems as though it's been a one-sided negotiation where the women are making their requests and the men are not making any requests or demands. They're not setting their standards. That's what you should be observing. If you're operating as an average man, which means that you're in such a position of weakness that you're pursuing vagina at all costs, you're like, hey, whatever she says to get the vagina, I'll do it. That's very slavish behavior. And if you get a woman being obsequious, you will have to continue groveling for the term of your relationship, or else things will begin to fall apart. And it seems as though he's still in this position, complaining now that the die has been cast and it's too late to uncast it. It's very sad.
Prepared or in the mindset to know that. It's almost like once you get into it, then you're like, oh shoot, like this is what I'm going to have to keep up with.
I get that.
Us speaking as 36-year-old people know that now. Had I known that at 26,
I get that.
I would have to contend with that. Even in the dating realm, then it might have been something I would have reevaluated.
So now let's go back to what you asked me. You said to me, you never pressured me to get married. In 2007, we were living together. You no longer want to live with me and shout with me because you want to be my wife, not my girlfriend.
Right. No,
don't sound like pressure to you?
It sounds like me voicing where I see my life going. It sounds like me saying, this is what I would like. You can decide to meet me there. If not, we can reevaluate what exactly we're doing.
Okay.
She gave that boy an ultimatum. Gave him an ultimatum. She said, like, look here, bruh, you could put a ring on it, or you can show me where that door is, because I'm out of here. And he said, no. Where's the ring? Go to Walmart right now. You go to Kmart, Tiffany, whatever you want. Yeah, that's sad. Because now he basically then put her in the ring and then put himself in a trap. And hey, she seems like one you don't want to be trapped with. That's just me personally. I don't like mine that fake, where they got the face paint, the fake eyelashes, the fake hair, the fake this, the fake that. It's a shame.
I call it pressure per se. Not necessarily pressure.
It is pressure. But you don't want to say it's pressure. What about being engaged?
You might have felt pressure.
What about being engaged?
Pressure behind it.
I said, we don't got to rush to get married. You said, I don't want to be engaged longer than a year. Is that not pressure?
That's me voicing.
Look, let me give you guys some advice, gentlemen. There's nothing wrong with being humorous and having a laugh with your lady. I do it all the time. But what I will say is that when you're discussing serious matters, it's nice to bring some humor in to keep it light. But if you have a serious point to make, you must speak in a serious voice. When he's doing this tap dancing, well, this is not proper communication from a man to a woman about something that you're adamant about. What you're really doing is being indirect and a little passive aggressive instead of being clear and letting her know where you stand. And because of this lack of stance, that's probably why he's in this situation today. So I hope that you all are understanding me when I'm advising you that when things are serious, you better get serious. That's whether you're talking in your relationship or you're talking in business. You must be able to convey who you are and how you feel. I want to shout out Aminu for throwing in the Cash App. Truly appreciate the support, Saint, and definitely means a lot because I know a lot of folks are up early. Shout out to us and appreciate everything. Love from the UK, love from London. You dig? Shout out to all the saints in London. Got to get out there one day, bruv, because I've enjoyed a lot of the things that London has to offer, if you know what I mean. Carrying on.
My opinion about it.
Sounds like pressure to me. So you say you want to be engaged, I get engaged. You say you want to be married within a year. We do that. We get married, then you make it seem like sex is a chore to your husband. Once again, I ask the question, why do women who push forth monogamy on the man they're dating then get overwhelmed with that man who tries to provide that monogamy to you? Why do you get upset when we're trying to be what you want us to be? You don't want me to be with no one else, right?
Woo! Listen to what he said. Wow. He said, why do you get upset when we try to be what you want us to be? Now, that sounds all nice and good, doesn't it? We're trying to be what you want us to be. Now, that's a cardinal sin. You heard me? If he were my son, I'd consider taking him out back and tuning him up. Number one rule we always stick to an assassin: be who you are. This is a boy talking. Be who you are. Any developed man or woman should always be who they are. Don't ever try to be who someone else wants you to be. That's cardinal sin number one. The gentleman literally said, I tried to be who you want me to be, and you still don't love me. Well, look here, sucker. Look here, chump. A woman doesn't want you to be putty within her hand. A woman doesn't want you to be soft like Play-Doh, boy. She's not trying to mold you into what she wants, because a woman can't mold you into a man. Man is what she wants sometimes, but man is what she needs every time and all the time. So I hope you learn from what he said. You will never win trying to be someone other than who you are. You will never win trying to be what you think someone else wants you to be. You can only win being yourself. I really hope you took to heart what he said and learned what not to do. Shout out to Trying to Beat writes, going to my job, keep doing God's work. Aye, aye, Captain, you got it. I will keep up with this work. Wishing you much ease in your job today. Let me see if, oh yeah, and if I miss your super chat, please just type in super chat in all caps and repopulate what was written. You can even do that on someone else's behalf, because I want to show love to those who show love to me. Bjorn Baker with the super chat. Truly appreciate that, Saint. Thank you very much. And also remember, within the Assassin, we stay focused on the important things. You've come here to gain knowledge. I see some folks writing, what is that on top of his head? It doesn't matter. That's not what the video's about.
Right? I'm asking. This is a serious question.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't want me to be with no one else.
Absolutely.
So if I decide that all this testosterone I have, I want to give to you, why is this so overwhelming now? This is what you asked for.
Again, 26 and 27-year-old Kadeen was like, okay, here's the natural succession of life. You graduate, you're working, you meet somebody, you guys are dating. You want children.
Yes.
I want children.
Yes.
We didn't wait too long or too late to have children.
Yes.
No, now a lot of people are waiting until their 30s to have children.
And I understand why.
And we at that time felt like, well, we're doing everything in this natural succession. The forces that be have given us the.
Hold up, wait a minute. Let's put a little truth in it. She says, quote, we're doing everything in this, quote, natural succession. Natural? Natural must refer to nature. Nature must refer to biology, not conditioning or social contract. So if we're referring to nature, biology, what is the nature of the male and the nature of the female? The nature of the male is to have a much stronger sexual drive than the female. The male libido is operating at approximately 300% of what the female libido is, based on the size of the hypothalamus in the male brain versus the female brain, the area of the brain that regulates primitive desires, such as sex. So if we're talking about natural, dear, you should allow him to be natural, which is to pursue the number of mates that he can get based on his position in society. That is his natural desire, to seek to dominate and acquire the higher number of eligible females. Your nature is to be monogamous and to stick to one man so you have security. Guess what? She's living her true nature. She's happy. That's why he's on here complaining, because he's not living according to his nature. He is unhappy and dissatisfied. And remember, the shortest Bible ever written, 3 sentences. Be yourself. Be good to yourself. Be good to good people. That's the shortest Quran ever written. Marquette Devon Burton, the key to life, those 3 things right there. Shout out to Fanatical Kev, right? Here's to the game. Cheers. That's right. Put your glasses up to that. French, you're right. He definitely did lose by following her.
This timeline. Mm-hmm. A lot of that too is not knowing that you have the liberty and the choice, and there shouldn't be any pressure to wait, right? So 27-year-old in that moment felt like, okay, so we are dating for a certain amount of time. At that point, we were dating for 7 or 8 years, right? 7 or 8 years is a bit of time to be invested in somebody, to not know, is there a future here? What are we doing? So Absolutely. At that point,
listen to the head game, saints. That's why I say my content is for intellectuals. It's for leaders, because you have to have brains to understand and read between the lines. She just said 7 years in, we're together for 7 years. I don't know where that's going. Bitch, you've been together for 7 years. What do you mean you don't know where it's going? You've been together for almost a decade. That should indicate to you that you are already in the relationship. You are already getting what you want. Why do you need the legal certificate of marriage? That is so that she can subjugate you. Huh? Because let's think about it. If you've been living together and in a relationship for 7 years, what does the marriage certificate change? Nothing. The only thing it changes is that she now has she has the force of government, the force of financial violence and physical violence now behind her to destroy you if you disobey her wishes, because the marriage contract is in favor of the female, and now she has the instrumentality of the government to now control you and take half your shit if you disrespect her wishes. Huh? Because in a state of nature, the male always has the force behind him, the force of size, the force of physical power, the force of leadership. When you involve the government, you now shift power to the female. She now has the instrumentality of the state. I hope you're following.
I proposed to you the idea of engagement. We got engaged. Then it was like, all right, we want to have kids. I particularly didn't want to have a child unless...
Trip out. She said, I proposed to you the idea of engagement. Last I checked, the man is supposed to propose to you. So she proposed that he proposed. She's like, I propose that you should propose. And then him being a yes man was like, oh, yeah, you sure, boss? That sounds like a good idea, boss. And then got down on his knee like a sucker and gave her everything that she wanted, including his soul and his leadership ability. Hurts my heart. That's right, baby. Absolute facts, 24/7. Dre, Snoop, and Devin. Now check this out, Raquel. If you are not on thesassin.com, do join. There's a Lady Saints membership where we're kicking out some serious game. We're going to have a meeting soon with the female Saints so we could talk about how we're building up the female side of the Sassin. So do tap in with us. Carrying on.
So I was married. Mm-hmm. So it's like, all right, well, we're engaged. We might as well, the next phase is get married. And then naturally girls get excited. The minute you're engaged and it's just like, oh, fiance. He put a ring on it. It's like the wedding planning has to commence. Like that's just naturally what most women do. Okay. So that happened. And then we ended up getting married. However, I did not realize that after having children, after, career changes, all of the turbulences that we've been through in life, that was going to have a direct effect on my sex drive.
Wow, bruh, you got a bad deal, family. She basically said, after career changes, turbulences in life, and having children, I didn't know that was going to have an effect on my sex drive. Hey, love, whether it had an effect on your sex drive or not, you got a job to do, baby. You got a job to do. And obviously she doesn't want to do the job. But here's the funny thing. If you go into your 9 to 5 and you don't work, do you still get paid? But she still wants to ride, get a free ride in a fancy car, live his lifestyle, and get all the same benefits, even though she's not putting in the same work. What's that about? That doesn't make any goddamn sense, does it? She don't want to ride the dick, but she still wants to get everything else. That's funny. She wants to work less and get paid the same. That's curious. Now, here's the funny thing. This is why marriage is in favor of females. They want to get married and then have kids. Think about it. Now, I understand, but analyze so you understand where they're coming from. After children, the vaginal elasticity is adversely affected. Now, you can have these dishonest people on the internet. Even some of them are physicians. They will lie and say the vagina snaps straight back. That's not true. Now, if the girl's having kids at 16, yeah, that vagina's snapping straight back. Why? Because 16 is the prime birthing age biologically. And that's real science. You'd have to dig through pages and pages of internet lies because they're trying to make it okay for women to have kids later in life because that's what women want to do. So you have all these female physicians and they're making up science, pseudoscience, when in reality, the female body is designed to have kids at 16. And the menstruation starts in like the 4th grade for some women. That means they can start having kids at that time. Further, if the female's having children later in life, say around age 28, 29, the later the female has children, the increase in instances of things like Down syndrome. Further, the inability of the vagina to snap back to its previous state. Even when some women have children in their 20s, there's vaginal tearing. In a literal sense, the vagina tears and the doctor has to sew it back together. No bullshitting. And you're lucky in the West that we have advanced medicine where they can sew that motherfucker back up. Now, whether it's not sewn back up or it does get sewn back up, the reality is you ain't getting the same fit that you had before, which is why they lock you into marriage so that the male doesn't go out and seek that younger, nicer, tighter fit. Further, the female has to engage you in this tight emotional bond so that you still care, right? Because it was definitely an emotional bond that made him say, yeah, when your vagina was swollen and your breasts were leaking, that was attractive. No, that's love, bruh, because that's not attractive at all. That's why when I see a woman pregnant with another motherfucker's baby, they're like invisible to me. It's disgusting. I don't want to see them because it's not my baby. That's not how the male is wired. You heard me? And shout out to Raquel. That's right. Game super early. You dig? When you put in the work, gentlemen, start it early. Absolutely. So I just wanted to share that little piece of knowledge so you understand why women need the commitment before they have kids, because they know their market value sexually and romantically is going to decline rapidly. That's why they got to lock you into marriage before they have the kids. Those are the wise women. These idiotic hood rat chicks, they'll just have the kids whenever. Why? Because they're not future planners. The wise among us plan for the future. And so that's why you can understand why the woman would want to bamboozle you into marriage, because she knows her value is going to decline. That's why she's looking for a monogamous man, because it reduces in her mind the likelihood that he's going to abandon her with a stretched out vagina and 3 kids that nobody else wants to raise. Now, sure, she can find the guy to step in there, but is that guy going to be a top dog? Absolutely not. I'm trying to pop up this super chat by the Swooviest, but it won't let me do it. It's just showing it to me at the top, which is annoying me. So please forgive me. That's just the technology here. I'm going to try to get it up. But I do want to acknowledge Dante Baker writes, peace. I wanted to highlight the latest Joe Rogan and Alex Jones interview. Eye-opening info. Thank you for your perspectives. Lots to reflect on. Absolutely. Mr. Baker says, check out that Joe Rogan. I personally check out Joe Rogan every now and then, and you'll almost never hear me say such things. Alex Jones, not my cup of tea. But Mr. Baker says, take a look-see. The Swooviest, right? She literally just told him she doesn't enjoy having sex with him anymore. Isn't that crazy? Told him to his face. You got to respect that. That's gangsta.
That's fair.
And me not knowing that, if I knew it then, I probably would have rethought, what I was going to do when it came to marriage and monogamy.
And that is fair. And this is why I like to have this discussion. And I think we should have this discussion, because people look at us and say, oh, relationship goals, right? Marriage goals. They don't know what is being discussed behind closed doors, right? So, for example, one of the things that I have deduced through being married to you for a long period of time is this, and this is not about a woman thing. This is about me and you. I learned that you were never taught what it entails to be with someone in a monogamous relationship. The same way I was never taught that.
Right.
So what happens is that we both have expectations of what we think it's going to be like.
Of course.
And then the minute it's not like that, we start to project our issues that we have with that on each other. So you get mad at me and I get mad at you. So the problem is not so much the reality of what happens, is that we all have this ideal of what it's supposed to be like. And I'm gonna give you an example. As a man.
All right, check this out. He brings up a meaningful point. First, Das J, shout out, appreciate the Euros, Saint. Thank you for sending in that tuition. So he is basically saying that neither of us had a clear idea on what marriage is and what marriage requires before getting into marriage. Let me explain to you why that is, Saints. What you don't realize is that because culture has broken down so much and religion has broken down so much, we're now making up on an individual basis what our marriage will look like. Remember, in the years of yore, hundreds of years ago, we were all in tribes among people who look like us, who think like us, who believe in the same religion or the same superstitions and the same culture, rituals, and traditions. Because we were in those tribes and we married within our tribe, we knew what the roles of man and woman were. Those roles were defined by our culture. And because of that, that is what we abided by. So things were much more simple. We knew what a woman was going to do in a marriage. We knew what a man was going to do. And when they fell short of that, we could appeal to the elders to set them straight. Now, in the absence of culture, the absence of religion, the absence of strong family structures, we do not have that sense of what is best. And so we're lost in a world seeking what is right, trying to figure it out when many of us don't know. That is why we have the Sasson, where we have very clear explanation of what is a male, what is a female, what are our roles within the family and within the relationship, what are our expectations, what is right from wrong. And we live by this clear, logical way, and that helps us be happy. You dig? So I just wanted to point that out. I also want to acknowledge, again, I already shout out Das J for the super chat. And I want to point out something again, because I really want to make sure that you guys are soaking up how to stay focused on meaningful things. So Riot Enterprises, right? Why send 79 cents? Use your brain, Riot. Why do you care? Did it go to you? No, it didn't. Did you send in a donation to show your appreciation? Of the 351 people on, most people are just sitting and watching and soaking up knowledge for free because someone else chose to show their appreciation. Whether he sent 1 penny or 2 pennies, do I ever say how much it is? No, because it doesn't matter. It literally matters nothing if you send $10,000 or 10 cents because you're sending a token of appreciation as a man. If you haven't sent anything, don't worry about what someone else did. Worry about what you didn't do. That's the society we're in, where we're worrying about other things that are irrelevant to us, especially as a man. While we're shirking our own responsibility, we're talking about how someone else is fulfilling theirs. Do not drag people down unduly. Build yourself up. You do not become bigger by making someone smaller. And if you do have to take a rough word to someone, do it with purpose. There was no purpose in this. It does not help you, saint. And I don't say that to chastise or embarrass you. I say that to help you be guided and focused in the future. So you think before you type, you think before you speak. And that's love. That's what many of us miss coming up. Our parents didn't give us discipline, which is a form of love. That's the best love because it helps us behave better in the future. Carrying on. I want to acknowledge LL. With the Euros, and I see the Euros coming through because it's so early that a lot of our Europeans had an opportunity to hop on this call. Folks from the UK, Germany, Sweden, all that. Appreciate you all. Danica writes, a few of my subscribers told me to check you out, saying that I would probably enjoy your content. So I'm stopping in, watching while I clean up. Danica, I truly appreciate that. And you have some great subscribers, apparently. And that profile photo, looks pretty damn good. So we might have to chop it up. You heard me? So do feel free to hop in my DM on Instagram. Be happy to collaborate with you because I truly believe in the importance of male and female collaboration as we build a better society. These MGTOW guys talking about going their own way, and these red pill guys who, you know, at some level have a hatred for women. That's not the way. I truly believe that the male and female are two parts of one half. Excuse me, they're half of a whole. So thank you for stopping by, dear. Jay Trey sends in the super chat. Truly appreciate it. Jay Trey got the kitty photo on deck. I want to acknowledge a few more of these super chats before we carry on. Waymon writes, keep doing your thing, man. Absolutely. I promise you I will. Count Rios steps in with the super chat, and Count Rios is often showing up with the tuition, so I really appreciate that. Thomas Blake comes in with the Canadian CAD, listening to the wisdom. Truly appreciate it. And shout out, you know, I pull through Canada every now and then. Been to T-Dot many times. Gorgeous women up there. Hell, I even been to Regina. You heard me. And Vape King writes, Danika's show is fire. I'll have to check it out. Somebody drop me a URL on my Instagram DM. I'll put my Instagram in there so that you guys can do that. Writes, she bad. Hey, I'll be the judge of that. You dig? I need a larger photo. But I do want to say, if you haven't checked out my video where I separate what a bad bitch is versus a good woman, check that out, because we talk about bad bitches, but we really need to be talking about good women. A bad bitch is all good for a side bitch, but you really want a good woman, because you can't get a side bitch till you got a main woman. And that's what y'all need to focus on, is that main woman. Make sure you get your center dealt with before you start dealing with the periphery. G-Star writes, blessings from Australia. Appreciate it, mate. Appreciate it. And man, I can't wait to get to Australia. You guys are apparently in jail right now because everything's on lockdown. But good Lord, I done seen some fine things in Australia.
Right? In my from 18 to 22, we had sex routinely, like all the time.
Yes.
That was it, right? Once we moved into together and we were living together in our own house in Michigan, sex started to slow down. This was before kids. This was before marriage. This was before you was working. This was before any stresses, period.
Right.
This was just you like sex just started to slow down.
Right.
And
but also too, 18 to 22 was like college. It was my first time out of my parents' house. Right. You know, we were living in this utopia that was college life. And also too, what was the other thing that I was going to say? So we had distance. Yeah.
Look, they're both making excuses. And I really want to be clear that as a man, you do not need to allow stress to get to your woman. You should be the one who guides her away from that kind of thinking, keeping her positive. He's over here enumerating the different stresses in their life. That's not necessary, bruh. Everyone has challenges, but you needn't have stress. Stress is a choice. Stress is an interpretation. I'm happy every goddamn day. I bullshit you not. Happy every day. Got a stress-free life. You heard me? Smile on my face all the time. Constantly telling the people around me, how can we enjoy? The last woman that I hired, I told her that your job is to entertain me. I'm hiring you so that I can have more joy and entertainment in my life. And her job is to drive me around in my Rolls Royce and get out and open the door for me because I find that entertaining. You have to make sure you're being thoughtful about continuing your joy. I've seen the gentleman, he and the lady, they have plenty of material capital. But when you lack intellectual capital and emotional intelligence, you will not live the right life. Huh? And that's the problem. They're both over here like, yeah, when we were younger, we used to fuck like rabbits. Now that we're adults, we're too stressed out and we're not having, nah, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You don't live in Somalia, bruh. I don't want to hear it. You don't live in Central African Republic, bruh. You live in abundance. What you need is a tune-up on your mindset. You need to see what this Marquettism is talking about. You dig? So I do want to let you guys know it is possible to be happy every single day.
Yes, we had distance.
So there was time for us to like miss each other and be like, absolutely. Oh, I can't wait to see you again. And when we do see each other, yeah, okay. Sorry.
So once we started to move in together and you see the same person every single night, the distance that we had when we were in college and I was traveling and we were doing different things, that distance allows time for you to kind of reboot your sex drive.
Yes.
For me, I don't necessarily have to reboot my sex drive. The minute I see you, I want to have sex. So when we were missing each other, it seemed normal that we had sex all the time. But then when we think about it, we really wasn't having sex all the time because we didn't see each other all the time.
I want to give you guys some deep level game. Look under the hood of what he's saying. He's basically saying before we got married, we weren't living in proximity, so we didn't see one another all the time. We only saw each other every now and then, which made it feel like a vacation. That's what he didn't say. It's like a vacation. We got a girl who flies in or you fly in. That's not real life. You need a woman you can deal with in real life when you're not going out to 5-star hotels, fancy restaurants, when she needs to get in that kitchen and whip something up. You heard me? When days are mundane and there's nothing exciting going on, you're not celebrating anything. That's why I don't like to engage in dating, because dating is not a reflection of relationship life. Dating is something that is unusual and atypical. You should never accustom a woman to going out to eat unless that's how you want to live the rest of your life. You need to accustom her to getting her ass in that kitchen, because that's how you should live your life. And your kids should eat home cooked food, because that's the most nutritious food made with the key ingredient of love. So be careful about the way you live your dating life. It should be more reflective of relationship life. That's number one. Number two, Clinical Shots writes, God damn, this is painful. She finessed him hard. And Saint, put some respect on the British pounds, not euros. Hey, please forgive me, because the British pound deserves a lot of respect. Absolutely. So do forgive me. Now, am I confusing the pound and the euro sign? I must be. So I'm going to log it into memory right there. That's the British pound. I got you. I got you. And you know your boy don't like to play with the money either. I take the bread seriously. But I never had those pounds in my hand. That's the problem. I got to get over there. Now, let me acknowledge a few more super chats. We're going to get back to this game. You dig? Rockstar Tony writes, love my guy. Appreciate your teachings always. I appreciate that you appreciate it. It's always good to come together with like-minded people. Anon Truth, one of the greatest moderators in all of YouTube, shares, join the SAS and patreon.com/the Saint and the Sinner. We welcome you all, not only to the exclusive content, but to this strong community we have that's going to be 1,000 strong sometime soon. Truly appreciate everyone's support and contribution. And he also shares the link for the Black Box, which you can find on Amazon.com. Marcellus Jordan writes, a female's actions are always reflective of the man's. Preach. Why is that? Because the man's leading. He's simply suffering the consequences of his changed behavior throughout the relationship. What I really admire about what the young man has shared with all of us is he is pointing out that the gentleman is not suffering because of the woman's actions. He's suffering because of his own actions. Marcellus writes, he's simply suffering the consequences of his changed behavior throughout the relationship, which is to say that when he got in the relationship with the female, he went against his own male instincts and nature and adapted to what she said she wanted. And that is why he is suffering these consequences. Thank you, Marcellus Jordan. You understand perfectly. Anon Truth writes, blessings, saints. And within the assassin, we always greet one another with love, with kindness and respect. Sometimes you walk around in this world, people look you in your eye, don't even say hello. We always share a kind word. CFE writes, appreciate your knowledge. Genuine love/attraction cannot be negotiated. You're damn right there. Julian writes, glad to make it to the sermon. Thanks a lot, Marquette, for the wisdom. Peace and blessings to the assassin. Thank you, Julian. And I will say my name does not have an E at the end. Not an issue, though. And he writes Sassination. Well, that's redundant because Sassin stands for Saint and Sinner Nation. So you'd be saying Sassin, Saint and Sinner Nation. So I just wanted to point that out, Julian. Look like you got your swole-on, bro, in the profile photo. Shout out. I love to see brothers in perfect physical shape. It is a sign of mental health as well as physical health. So shout out to you, Julian, and appreciate the super chat, truly. Carrying on.
Right.
Then when we moved in together and we see each other every day, every time I want to have sex, I look to you. It became overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So, and the reason why I say that is because the conversation starts happening was, why do men fear marriage? Mm-hmm. Why do men fear marriage? And I'm going to explain this so that everybody can understand this. Mm-hmm. When you're a young man, and you talk to your friends who are married about getting married, the first thing they do is say, take your time. Right? They don't ever explain why, because men aren't vocal. We don't discuss these things. We're not emotional. Mm-hmm. All they'll say is, take your time. You got time for that. You sure you want to do this? And they're like, yeah, you sure? And they're like, shit gonna change. And then you're like, what does that mean? Oh, don't worry about it. Shit gonna change. So no one really tells you as a man neither what exactly is going to change and how it's going to change and why it's changing. But I've learned over years why it's changed and how it's changed. For example, when we were in college and we were having sex a lot, and I was at football practice and I used to go away games that we had time apart, right? Once we moved in together and we were having sex routinely, your body couldn't handle it.
Right.
Like physically couldn't handle it. You would get UTIs, you would get bacterial infections because it's the same pounding every day. Mm-hmm. So as a man, you start to realize, like, we are not just wired differently mentally, physically, we are wired differently. She can't take.
So here's the funny thing. He is literally laying out the biological implications of a woman trying to match a male's libido and how it might lead to UTIs, it might lead to vaginal pain and essentially stress of the female body being, submitted to something that it can't handle. So he's saying he understands, and she's over here like, right, yup, So she's agreeing, but never once saying, you know what? We should make an adjustment so we can both be happy. She's basically keeping it to where she's good and he's living in hell. But I think all the real people out here know that he's creeping out on the low, getting what he needs, right? We're not stupid out here, are we? Are we? Come on, Saints. We live in the real world. Shout out to G-Star writes, blessings from Australia. I think I'd maybe already clicked that. I just try my best not to miss any super chats. So I may have said that one twice because I really do want to show love to those who show love to me. Ishmael coming through with the super chat. Appreciate it. Now that's the euro right there. Right. See, now shout out, because the euro and the pound symbol, I feel like it could be a little different. If I'm being honest, they could be a little more different. But shout out Ishmael. Truly appreciate the support, Saint. We're going to carry back on, get a little bit more of this game. We're going to try to wrap this up on the hour.
Everything that you want to give her all the time. But since no one tells you that, you just expect that this woman who wants me to be loyal to her, monogamous to her, is going to want to have sex every time I want to have sex. Mm-hmm. And it's not until you move in with a woman and you live with her all the time do you realize that she can't do that. You see what I'm saying? So not only are women not being taught what it's like to be in a monogamous relationship, young men are not being taught what it's like to be in a monogamous relationship. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I understand completely, because I experienced the same thing. And that's why I'm grateful for platforms like this, or just our generation of people who are speaking up and speaking out and speaking to each other about these things, because then maybe people will make more educated decisions about whether or not they do want to be married, or they do want to be in a monogamous relationship, or, what actually is involved in that. And the crazy thing about marriage is that, one of the things you always hear is like, you got to compromise. But like, what happens when one party feels like they're compromising more than the other? Or
let's just end it right there. She states, what happens when one party feels like they're compromising more than the other? Well, let me talk a little bit about compromise. Well, compromise is necessary. Both sides must compromise. But should you compromise who you actually are? Should you compromise yourself from a man into a boy? Should you compromise with your true nature and try to be someone that you're not? You cannot give up the soul of who you are to stand next to anyone, whether it's to stand next to a woman, to stand next to a man, to stand next to a friend, to stand next to a family member. The first place you should try to stand is in your own shoes. The moment you get outside of your shoes, get outside of your body, trying to be that which you are not, you are doomed to perpetual unhappiness. And so with her word on compromise, I want to affirm that, yes, compromise is good. but never compromise who you are, saints. It has been truly a pleasure to spend this time with you, and we shall end this the way we always end this within the Assassin. That is with the creed of the Assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction wherever you are, knowing that this is true of you. And one thing I will say is if you haven't gotten your Saint Center hat, you dig, you can go ahead and get that. I'm going to put the link in the description right now. Not in the description, put the link in the chat. So it's sassin.com/merch. You can order your hat. We're shipping them out Wednesday of this week. Let us get to the creed. Repeat after me. I am going to be who I truly am because I am remarkable, and I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time, saints. Peace.